Let's turn to Fox News senior political analyst Brit Hume, who watched this with much of America. Good to see Brit.
Thank you, Shannon. Nice to see you.
So let's start with the part about the reliance on the Steele dossier, because when you look at what Horowitz puts together, he talks about the fact that for a large section of the attorneys in the group putting this together for the FISA applications, it was something that tipped them over towards an assessment of probable cause.
It did, and it was described by the Inspector General as essential, which does not square with what Comey has said about how the process worked and what role the dossier played. And for him to be now saying that it doesn't allege any misconduct by the FBI is laughable. Of course it alleges misconduct. It isn't just, he likes sloppiness. It's not sloppiness. It was a series of errors, all of which, as a number of others have pointed out, pointed in the same direction, all negative for the president. Exculpatory information that was known to FBI people was kept out or kept away from the FISA judges. This, to any definition, is misconduct.
Okay, so Chris also spoke with the House Intel chair, now the chair, Adam Schiff, who said, listen, hindsight is 20/20. So we'll play that and then talk about it.
The Inspector General found serious abuses of FISA that I was unaware of. Had I known of them, Chris, yes, I would have called out the FBI at the same time. But I think it's only fair to judge what we knew at the time, not what would be revealed 2 years later.
So this takes us back to February of 2018 when Devin Nunes put out a memo, and it said this: in the case of Carter Page, the government had at least 4 independent opportunities before the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court to accurately provide an accounting of the relevant facts. However, our findings indicate that, as described below, material and relevant information was omitted. Also in February of 2018, in response, Adam Schiff, along with the House Intelligence Dems, who were then in the minority, said FBI and DOJ officials did not abuse the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act process, omit material information, or subvert this vital tool to spy on the Trump campaign. So these two have already butted heads over this information in February of 2018.
What he says flies in the face, of course, of the IG report, but it also flies in the face of the much derided Devin Nunes memo that grew out of the Nunes-led House Intelligence Committee investigation of the investigation, and they had and the whole Trump-Russia affair. And for Schiff now to claim, when he not only saw what Nunes said but published a memo of his own rebutting it, that he didn't know about those abuses, is preposterous.
I mean, that was February of 2018. They clearly were having the conversation then.
And he says that he didn't know about that stuff. Well, of course he knew about it.
Do you think he'll get called on the carpet by anybody who's been following this story for 2 years?
Well, one of the wonders to me of modern media is the failure of my colleagues in this business to see through this guy Schiff. He has been dishonest repeatedly. He made extravagant claims about the amount of evidence he had of Russia collusion, evidence that it turned out that not even the Mueller team, with all of its investigative powers, did not discover, and that Schiff never specified. And of course, the report came out and basically blew up the Russia collusion theory. Now comes this whole question of FISA abuse, and he's still telling whoppers about that. It is amazing that he hasn't been called out. And then, of course, he gets tapped by Nancy Pelosi to lead the impeachment inquiry. Wow.
Okay, so about what he did or didn't know back then, James Comey answered some of these questions, too, from Chris as well, about what he should or should have known with regard to these FISA applications, which he had to sign off on. So Chris said to him, listen, you're taking responsibility. You were in charge when some of this stuff happened. So shouldn't you have known more? And this is what Comey said in response.
As a director sitting on top of an organization of 38,000 people, you can't run an investigation that's 7 layers below you. You have to leave it to the career professionals to do, to the special agents who do this for their lives. And if a director tries to run an investigation, it'll get mucked up in all different kinds of ways.
I mean, Britt, is that fair? He's running the FBI. He's not managing all these investigations.
That would be fair if this were a typical FBI criminal investigation being run out of a field office in Flagstaff, Arizona or somewhere. That's not the case. This investigation was run out of headquarters. Moreover, it was an extraordinary investigation because implicated in it was a campaign for the presidency of the United States and a leading candidate at the time when they undertook this investigation. The idea that the director of the FBI would not have and did not know about what was going on there is remarkable. And assume for the sake of discussion that that's true, that he didn't know. That's even worse in a way. He should have known. He's the director. The buck's supposed to stop with him. And indeed, those warrant applications did stop with him because he signed them. So that's nonsense what he's saying.
Well, now FBI Director Christopher Wray is pledging massive overhauls and reforms as the result of what the IG found, and that is good for all of us as Americans. But as you said, credit to Comey and Schiff to show up and have this conversation with Chris Wallace. I think that's always important.
I agree with that. It was good that he showed up. Good that he admitted at fault.
Yeah.
The rest of it, not so much.
Okay. Brit Hume, always great to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Merry Christmas.
You too.